Jay, you up there? Can you put the drawing up, please?
So if we could pull up the image on the screen of the drawing from Isaac. This is our kids design glass. It's the Brotato chips. It's two brothers hanging out and fist bumping. So if you look at the bottom, their legs and feet, they're going to be creating those. He was just explaining to Isaac that they're going to pull cane for that. And pulling cane is basically, they have interior color and they're going to stretch the glass, but he's encasing it in clear glass first to strengthen it, make it have a little bit more mass to it. And so you'll see him do that. He's working on that over on that side. This is Gabe Feenan right here. And they have these wooden racks down on the floor, and that's what they're going to use to allow the cane to just cool off a little bit before they use it. So as you can see, he's attaching that to a second pipe. They're going to use that as a handle so they can stretch the glass out to the desired thickness that they want. When it's really moving and glowing orange, it's around 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And as it cools, it loses that heat color. I wouldn't attempt to guess, but it would be really cool to get one of those laser heat guns. We need one of those, Gabe. It does, it does. I mean, and as they stretch it, it's thinning out. So the thinner the glass is, the more the heat dissipates. So right now, Gabe is working on building up an amount of glass that they're going to use to create the potato chip. So they have a textured plate on the Marver, and they're going to use that to create the ridges in that potato chip. So right over here, Sayudi is measuring and cutting the pieces that are going to be used for the legs you saw them stretch out earlier. They'll be used for the legs and the arms, actually. So in order to stay consistent with scale, she has a set of calipers that they've set the measurement to keep that consistent in relation to the other parts of the piece. What you may not see from where you're seated in the crowd is over on the other side here on the left. Nick is creating the basketball that the Brotato chip is holding. We can reference the drawing once again on the screen just so we can have that fresh in our minds. And so I think what's happening is that supposed to be an afro that kind of comes up? Okay, so it looks like it got cut off on the printer, but I talked to Gabe and he said that they are going to stay consistent with your actual drawing, even though we can't see it here. Right over here, they're now pressing the glass into that textured plate using a wooden paddle. And that gives it that lovely crinkle cut texture. at the center bench here, they're working on that Brotato chip. And what he was brainstorming was, because there's features like the face, he's deciding whether or not he should draw those onto the textured side or do it on the flat side. My vote would be the flat side, just because it would be a little easier. And when it's lit up, you're still gonna see the ridges in that potato chip, but I don't know yet. I don't know what decision they've come up with. So now he's just shaping the end of that. You saw him stretching it earlier using the tweezers. And so what he did was just heat that area up to reshape that. So he was just using that outer edge as a handle to lengthen it. So over on the left side, Manny's working with a piece that he rolled into frit. Frit is colored glass that's ground up, and he's rolling that into a bowl of that ground up colored glass. You can see many bowls set out, so they pre-selected those colors based on the drawing that Isaac did. So he would roll that in the frit and then heat it up so it melts into the surface of the clear glass. There you can see the frit that they're using. Right now, Manny is working with black. It's going to be for the fro, the hair of the Brotato chip. So he's got to work on getting that nice and hot so that they have a lot of malleability in the glass in order to sculpt it onto the head or the top of the Brotato chip. So he's using the jacks to put a line in the glass, kind of sectioning off the amount that he's going to actually use. So one awesome thing about Kids Design Glass is it forces our hot shop team to think about glass in a different way. Rather than just thinking about things like how to blow a vessel, which they're used to doing that. But they kind of have to do a more impromptu type of thing when they're sculpting these things because kids draw really random stuff. And so you can see the interpretation based on that drawing. And kids are encouraged to submit their artwork to our Kids Design Glass program. It's been going on for, I think Gabe said, around 11 years? 11 years. And it was maybe a little bit more. He's trying to remember, but he's getting a little old. So. So the Kids Design Glass program originally started out as they did an exhibition where it was all designers designing pieces and then makers making them. So they were separate things, just like the Kids Design Glasses. So they took that idea and they're like, hey, what if we had kids getting involved in this? Like, how do we bring the kids in the community into the Museum of Glass and make it really fun and exciting? And it just really took off from there. And it's also an exhibition that's been traveling world around. So Nick has that basketball right over there. Where is the artist? He's right over there. Isaac, we need your approval of this basketball. He said, yeah. Sure. Can we get the drawing back up on the screen? Gabe is using a hot torch right now. As you can see, that's heating the glass up very quickly to that bright orange glow. And that's going to get it hot enough so they can fuse it onto the potato chip. Now that they've attached that, he can heat that up more and shape it. So over on the left side, they've put the basketball into this oven here. This is a garage, and that's gonna hold the glass at a stable temperature where it's not gonna move around, and that's about 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And they'll just park that there until they're ready to attach it to the sculpture later on. He's gonna go ahead and make a second one because they're gonna make 2 of these sculptures today. One sculpture is going to go to the artist who drew the piece, Isaac here, and the other will go into the museum's permanent collection, as these are part of exhibitions that end up traveling or being displayed here in the Museum of Glass. So Gabe has some cork pads that he's going to use to shape the hair. And he's going to reference that drawing as he's doing so. So now he's using that torch to heat up the outer edge of the fro. And what he's going to do is kind of sculpt little lines into it so it kind of looks like a curling situation, like the drawing. For those of you who may have arrived a little later on, what we're working on today is a kids design glass piece. They're creating that sculpture of the brotato chips. One's actually like a crinkle cut potato chip and the other is a Dorito. They're working on the potato chip right now, specifically the afro on top of the potato chip. Our artist is Isaac, and he's seated over here in the front row. Let's go ahead and give him a round of applause for his drawing, everyone. So we'll go ahead and pull that drawing up so you can see the fancy artwork that he created. I think my switcher might have left. We'll pull that up in just a few minutes here. Gabe is working on heating up some white colored stringer with the hot torch, and he's going to go ahead and place the eye on the brotato. So he's just looking back and forth from the drawing to the piece to make sure he gets the placement right. So as you can see, he's sculpting that with our most sophisticated tool, the butter knife. So now he's intricately working on sculpting the nose. At the moment, Gabe is working on the mouth of this piece. All right, so now they're getting ready to transfer the Brotato chip onto another pipe. So Manny's going to prepare a punty over here. And what they were just discussing was the specific shape of that punty. It's referred to as a sculpture punty. And it's because they want to make a minimal connection to not disrupt the shape of the afro, but also have a secure connection to that piece. So it's going to be very specifically shaped in order to attach to the outer end. They're going to break it off of the pipe that it's on now and sculpt the bottom end, and then start getting the parts ready that are going to be attached to it. So once they transfer it, they're able to put on the legs and the feet and the arms. As you can see, a little bit of water was added to create fractures in the glass, creating a weak point so that when you tap the pipe, it just breaks right off. So we'll go ahead and pull the image up on the screen so we can see the details of what was just created. As you can see, you put the two eyes, it's looking sideways, the nose, the mouth, tongue sticking out. Now they've transferred the piece, they're gonna start adding those extremities. And this drawing was done by Isaac. It's two brothers hanging out and fist bumping. They're called the Brotato chips. So earlier they stretched out this cane, and that's what they're going to be using to create the legs. It's right down here on these wooden racks. They've heated that up in a tray inside the garage, and the garage will hold the glass at a temperature where it's not moving. So it's about 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Gabe has sets of calipers that are set that they did in relationship to each other, measuring the piece so that everything stays on scale. Gabe was just commenting that the connection to the punty right now, like I was explaining earlier, it's pretty precarious. So they got to be really careful, but it's because he wants that to be able to be removed very easily without damaging the area that he already sculpted. So now he's just fire polishing the bottom of that. The punty? The sculpture punty, yeah. It's P-U-N-T-Y. Yeah. So now that he trimmed some of the glass off the end of that, he's heated it up and is just going to reintroduce the ridges all the way down to the bottom. While he's doing that, over at the garage, Sayuri is heating up the legs. So those are nice and warm, ready to be attached as soon as Gabe's done sculpting the bottom of that. So they'll take turns from the furnace. She's heated that up. He's going to pick it up using the diamond shears, use the hot torch to make the edge of that molten so that it will stick to the bottom of the brotato. So over on the right side, they're doing an experience called Build-A-Bird. So people can register to do an experience here in the hot shop where you get to be assisted by a team of people. These are the Hilltop Artists in Residence, which is a program out of Jason Lee Middle School, one of our Tacoma public schools. And so they're here to assist our guest here in creating a bird. So now the brotato chip has arms and legs. On the left side, Nick is preparing a bit of glass that are going to be for the hands. And then Sayuri will create another piece that'll be the feet. So as you can see, he's sculpted the arm, tipping that upward. That's where they're going to attach the basketball eventually. So right now they're just attaching a bit of glass to the bottom of the leg. He's going to sculpt that into the foot. All right, I think we're ready for the hands to be put on. So just to give you a little more information about what's happening over on the right side of the shop, this is a hands-on experience of Make Your Own Bird. It's today and tomorrow. Tomorrow would be noon to 5. You can celebrate spring with a whistle and a bird. Think about your favorite feathers friend and sculpt one out of glass with a team of artists. A limited number of 30-minute spaces are available, and there are still 3 spots open for tomorrow. So basically what they're preparing for is to attach the basketball. And that's going to be a very quick thing that they have to do because the weight of the ball and the thickness of the arm, if you heat that arm up too much, it's going to start flopping around. So Gabe said he's not going to let it do that. So they got to be very quick about this and then make sure that that stays stable and in place, and you may have to reposition it a little bit once it's on there. Drum roll, please. So as you saw, he heated up a small spot on the hand, and now he's heating up the basketball. Hot glass will stick to hot glass. So he wants those areas very specific where it's going to attach. All right, that looks awesome. Do you want me to shut it more? Okay. So as soon as they feel like they're ready, they're going to bring it over for the final approval by the artist, which is Isaac sitting over here in the front row. Let's go ahead and give him a round of applause, everyone. Fantastic drawing. Let's see that drawing one more time on the screen while they're given the last few heats. These are the Brotato chips. They're two brothers hanging out and fist bumping. Get your cameras out, guys. All right, here we go. What do you think? Round of applause, everyone. The artist likes it. So right now what Gabe is doing, he's communicating with the team on detaching the piece from the pipe that it's on. I explained earlier that they had kind of this precarious small connection, and they're going to try to clean that up as much as they can as they're taking it off. So it'll be very minimal cold working at the end. So as you saw in the drawing, these Brotato chips are standing up. So one of our technicians will actually fabricate a metal stand that will hold them up in the air. At this point, they just want to make sure there's an even heat all throughout. Nick is set up with some gloves, and he's going to be the one to retrieve the piece and take it to an annealing oven. The annealing oven is there to slowly cool the glass over a period of time based on the thickness of the glass. So the thicker the glass is, the longer it takes. This isn't too thick, so it'll probably be overnight. So right over here, they're going to go into annealing oven number 2, and that's at about 920 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, Gabe just announced last flash into the glory hole. So he's using the hot torch, and that's going to really soften the glass. They're holding it vertically so he can use shears and go ahead and cut that right off. Fire polishing that, smoothing out the glass. And it's good. Off to the annealing oven. Everyone, big round of applause for our team. Fantastic communication. Awesome execution. Great drawing by Isaac here. All right, so now they're going to move on to the Dorito. So we're just gonna, while they're starting this up, show a short video clip on the screen about our Kids Design Glass program. So those of you who came in later on can get caught up to speed on what it is that we're doing here.
It's a baby monster. Pip is a baby monster that loves to smile and laugh. Even though he's little and cute, he gives a big cry. Also, Pip loves food, especially bananas. He will eat any speck of food in sight.
Totally amazing. And especially if the pieces of art go traveling around, other kids will see, oh my gosh, I could do that too. You know, it's not just somebody else that, you know, they did it, you know, I couldn't do that. Absolutely not. Anyone can do this. And I think that's what it shows the kids.
Maybe not everybody can win.
But, and
I think it's gonna stand up there with one of the coolest things that a museum has ever done.
What is it, a cucumber all dressed up for a night on the town? That's pretty ridiculously funny.
The funnest part about this project is how fresh the ideas are coming from the kids who they have no idea of glass blowing techniques, they don't care.
Nobody saw this coming. We'd make one piece and it was given to the family. And then we realized, well, wait a second, there's something more here. We started to get more drawings, more interesting drawings, and it really kind of snowballed a little bit.
Bacon Boy was special. The hat almost looks like a frying pan.
Maybe he's wearing a frying pan.
bacon, baby.
All I see.
How's that for his arm? Fingers?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it really brings it home and really shows that, you know, there's an artist in all of us, I think. So, and it's human nature to be creative. So I think we lose that as we get older sometimes, and it's cool to see this pure creative nature that children possess. So I think it's cool to share that with the rest of the world, hopefully. So.
Thank you for supporting Kids Design Glass.
So we'd like to encourage any kids here today, 12 and under, to draw your own original idea and submit that. All right, they're in the beginning stages of this. At this point, they're just gonna use a red color. That's what he's gathering clear over right now. They're gonna use that to pull some cane. You can see an example of that right over here on this wooden ladder that they used for the last piece. And that's gonna be used for the arms and legs. Over on the left side, Nick is preparing parts for the skateboard that the Dorito's carrying. So we'd like to make this as interactive experience as possible. So if you guys have questions anytime, feel free to ask. You raise your hands or shout out my name. My name is Heather, and I can answer your questions for you. The question from the audience was about the fuel source. We're using natural gas and forced air. So as you can see, he's got the glass nice and hot. He's able to stretch that like taffy. So although it looks like it's glowing orange right now, it's actually a red colored glass that they're using. What you're seeing, that orange color, is the heat color. So he's gonna allow that to just cool off a little bit till it stiffens up. It'll break it off and it'll continue to cool down on the wooden ladders. So now Manny's gonna go ahead and prepare piece of colored glass to be used as the kind of line drawing on the body of the Dorito. Over on the left side of the shop, Nick is still busy working on the skateboard. So over here on the right side of the shop, we have Kara and her mother working on building their own bird. This is a hands-on project that they're working on. So we welcome guests to create a piece of artwork along with the team. This is the Hilltop Artists in Residence team that are assisting our guests today. And you can go ahead and get more details if you'd like to register at the front desk. We do have 3 slots open still for tomorrow. So what Gabe is doing here at the center bench is using a wooden block to center the glass. Over here, Kara is rolling molten clear glass into frit. Frit is crushed up colored glass. And they're gonna melt that into the surface. Frit can create a mottled effect on the surface of the glass. When applied more layers, it can create an almost solid look. All right, again, we have the red colored glass. That's what Manny has on the end of the pipe he's heating up. And they're going to create kind of squiggling lines all over the surface of the clear glass. And that's going to be the body of the Dorito. So if we can reference the image on the screen once again, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So he's got kind of just like lines kind of swirled all over his body, and that's what they're going to do next. Gabe was just using a wet pad of newspaper, and that's really the closest you can come to hand shaping the glass. Doesn't that look fun? Just like draw with it, scribbles all over. So as the glass cools, the lines get thicker. So they're using the torch to make sure that those stay consistently somewhat thin. So over on the table here, they have a kiln shelf, and that has beeswax on it that acts as a lubricant, so the glass won't stick to the shelf. And they're gonna go ahead and begin to flatten that out over here. All right, now he's showing Isaac, who is the artist, and explaining how they did that, drawing squiggly lines on this piece. Over on this side, Kara's working on sculpting the beak of her bird. Again, this is a hands-on project you can register for, and we do have 3 more slots open for tomorrow if anyone's interested in getting their hands on some glass. Not literally. So they're now over in the powder booth. This is where they add a powdered form of colored glass. Oh, look at that camera angle. That's new to me. So now he's going to go ahead and heat that colored powdered glass onto the surface, melt that in. So what Gabe is working on now is going to shape this into a more cone shape, so where it's wider at the base and then tapered toward the top before they flatten it out. All right, looks like they finished up Kara's bird over here. It's going to go into annealing oven number 4. They're just fire polishing the edges of that. It's so cute. All right, let's give a round of applause to Kara and the Hilltop Artists in Residence over here. So he's just preheating that kiln shelf so they can go ahead and lay the glass onto that and begin to flatten it. Gabe has a wooden paddle that's soaked in water. A little bit of beeswax, again, as a lubricant. So they're starting another bird over on this side. Kara had purchased this for her mother for Mother's Day, so now Cheryl's making a bird. So he has multiple sets of calipers there that he's using to check the width and length of the piece. And that's so that it stays on scale with the other parts that they've already made. So they've placed indentations in the glass, and that's kind of sectioning off the part that they're going to use based on the measurements that he took. So Gabe has some stringer, and he's just melting that onto the surface, creating even more lines. What this is going to do is create depth in those lines, because some of them are on the surface, some of them are inside the glass, deeper than others. And a lot of times, once you stretch that, maybe the lines weren't as close together as he'd like, so he's just adding some more of those lines. Want to get it to look as much like the drawing as possible. So he's using the cork pads to kind of press those flat and also thin the piece a little bit more. So we'll go ahead and reference the image on the screen. Next, Gabe is going to put the little black dots of the corn chip. Do we have any questions from the audience? If you think of anything, my name's Heather. You can ask me. So we have different temperatures. The glory holes, can we go ahead and put that slide up on the screen? So the glory hole is about 2,300 degrees Fahrenheit. The glass furnaces will be about, let's see, what is that, about 2,100 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's where inside that furnace there's a large crucible that can hold about 1,000 pounds of clear molten glass. And all the color is added outside of the furnace. So here's a rundown of all the different temperatures you can see up there. The glass furnace at 2,100, the glory hole about 23, the annealer, which is the cooling oven, call it cooling, but it's still really hot. It's like 910 degrees. The garage is this furnace or oven, whatever you want to call that, right over here. And that's a place to just park a piece of glass when you've sculpted something and you're not quite ready to add it yet. It'll stay there without losing its shape. at about 1,000 degrees. Yes. So the question was, how long can you work on the glass before it loses too much heat and you don't have the malleability anymore? It depends on the thickness of the glass. So if it's stretched really thin, it'll harden up like within seconds. If it's really thick, it'll stay molten for quite a while. So it really is dependent upon thickness. Oh, look at Mom's cute little bee. All right, they're finishing up that bird for the mother-daughter experience that they had today. Does it have a name? Okay. So they're just allowing the base of it to cool a little bit on the Marver before they put it away. Teddy, the bird, is now going to join Herman in this mother-daughter experience that they had today. Let's give them a round of applause. Kara and Cheryl and the Hilltop Artists in Residence team, fantastic job, you guys. So over on the left side, you saw Sayuri rolling clear glass into a bowl of colored glass in a crushed up form. That's frit. So they roll that into it, coloring the surface, and she's preparing a bit of glass that they're going to use to sculpt the hat. So now that they've sculpted the hat, they're discussing how they're going to transfer the piece onto another pipe so they can finish off the area where it's connected to this one. Gabe's using shears to just cut that line in even further in preparation for transferring that onto the punty that Nick is preparing over here on the left side. So now that it's transferred, they have access to working on the bottom side of the Dorito. He's gonna use the hot torch. Get the glass nice and soft there and sculpt that area. Now that it's transferred, they're gonna also get prepared to put on the arms and the legs. And those pieces of glass are over here in the garage, sitting at about 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And also the skateboard has been sculpted and is setting right here as well. All right, over here at the garage, Sayuri is going to begin to heat up the pieces that they'll use for the arms and legs. You'll notice that Gabe uses the torch to heat the glass that's attached to the pipe. Because it's on that metal pipe, it's constantly drawing heat away from that area, which if it cools too much can fracture, and we don't want that to happen, and I won't say why. They're going to bring over another piece of glass that Manny's heating up, and they're going to put the feet on now that we have the arms and legs. Over here on the right side, they're just finishing up another hands-on experience. They dropped a pad of molten glass onto the Marver, and that's going to act as the base for the bird to sit upon. So they're going to let that cool a little bit until that starts to hold its shape. Do you want me to close the thing more? All right, let's give a round of applause for the hands-on experience. He created that bird with the Hilltop Artists in Residence. So while they're doing the hands, getting ready to put those on, over here at the garage, Manny's gonna pick up the skateboard. And let's go ahead and reference the drawing on the screen so you can see how that's laid out. So this was drawn by Isaac in February, and these are the Brotato chips, two brothers hanging out and fist bumping. So as Gabe is finishing up sculpting the hand, over on this side, Manny has the skateboard ready to go. So as soon as Gabe says the word that he's ready, he'll bring that over and attach it. So this last attachment, it's pretty precarious in the sense that that arm is sticking out, and it's going to have to handle the weight of the skateboard on it. And if they heat it up too much, it can kind of start flopping around. But Gabe told me he's not going to let it do that. For those of you who arrived towards the later part of this sculpture, this is our Kids Design Glass program, which was a program that was developed around 11 years ago or so based on the designer and maker relationship. They had an exhibition where it was all makers creating the designs of the designers that they showed in the gallery, and thought, hey, we could do that with kids and bring kids from the community in to the hot shop. So they're creating this piece. They'll do a second sculpture this afternoon, repeating the same thing. So the artist here, Isaac, will receive one of the sculptures, and the other one will be part of the museum's permanent collection. So he's now attached the skateboard to the side, and he's going to heat up that arm to connect it. So Gabe is using cork pads to position the arms, get them in the right spot according to the drawing. So he's just going to make sure that the heat is even all throughout. Everything is holding its shape. Manny's getting suited up over there on the right side. He's going to be the one to carry it off to the annealing oven. The annealing oven is the oven where it slowly cools the glass over a period of time, and that's based on the thickness of the glass. So the thicker the glass is, the longer it takes to cool down. He's going to show Isaac here to get the final approval from the artist here in the first row. All right, round of applause. Yeah. All right, they're gonna heat that up where it's connected to the pipe. Manny's just preheating the gloves. All right, they're gonna fire polish the end of that just to melt that down so it's not sharp before it's off to annealing oven number 2. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause. Our Hot Shop team and our artist, Isaac. All right, we're gonna do a little photo with the artist here, and then we're gonna break for lunch. After that, we'll be back later on this afternoon to continue the second sculpture, the second version of this. Thanks for coming in, everyone.